Hey there, it's Mandy from DynamicSync, and in this video, we're going to cover off the critical update you need to do in all of your event campaigns to make sure that none of your registrations fall through the cracks anymore. So let's get stuck in. As I mentioned in this video, we're going to cover off something really critical and fundamental that we believe that you need to make this change in your event campaigns immediately to avoid any possible issues with registrations that don't successfully go through to DynamicSync. Now, registrations typically fail for a bunch of different reasons, and it could be that the contact's already registered into the event, and trust me, that happens. They forget. It could be also that there's something maybe wrong with your setup and the event date that they're selecting, or something's wrong with the HTTP post that's communicating between Infusionsoft and DynamicSync isn't right, or it could be the event has closed, or it's full, or you've run out of attendees and a few other things in between. So what this allows you to do is to be notified if for whatever reason that the contact isn't successfully registered, so you can go and investigate. Without this functionality set up, you aren't actually going to be notified unless you're actually going in there and actually checking all of the registrations that come through. So let's have a look at how to do it. Now in Infusionsoft, no doubt you've got this campaign or something similar, an event campaign set up to actually work with DynamicSync. And one of the key principles and one of the reasons why we all love Infusionsoft is it's based on this concept of people achieving goals and going on a journey. Now, if they complete this registration goal from your website to say, yep, I'm interested in this particular event, then the next goal really for them to complete is a successful registration in DynamicSync, which is typically, well, actually, it's not typically, it's always a registration tag goal. So if you head into your DynamicSync account, if you head to the event that you're looking at, so let's, for example, look at this one, and if you look at the Infusionsoft integration here, this is the registration tag that you're looking to that the system will essentially tag people on and communicate that back to Infusionsoft. Now this is usually the one we've got set up here, and I definitely don't recommend changing that, but I recommend adding this, copying this same goal, which if you right click you should be able to copy or hold down Control on a Mac, and what you can do is put it on the end of this sequence. So what's going to happen is when someone comes in here, completes this web form, they head into this sequence, then if the integration is successful and they register for the event in DynamicSync, then they'll achieve this goal and be pulled out of that sequence. And of course they'll achieve this one and go into the pre-event email sequence. Now what I would recommend here is taking this another step further, is within this actual sequence, put in a timer, and it could be just for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. We usually just do 10 minutes just in case. Anytime, any day, doesn't really matter because we know we can potentially accept registrations at any moment. What I recommend here is adding a task. So it might be investigate registration fail, and I'll show you some things to keep in mind when you are going to investigate those. And in here you want to kind of put something like investigate rego error, and then you might put the name of the event name, and then you might want to merge in the actual contact name and just put here, it looks like such and such tried to register for, and then you put the event name in here. However, it was unsuccessful, please investigate. And then of course you can do other or investigate as a type, assign it to somebody, and so on and so forth. Do what you would normally do with a task. So I highly recommend you get that updated and in all of your event campaigns as soon as possible, so that none of those registrations fall through the cracks. There's nothing worse than someone wanting to come to your event and then they get no communication about the event, and potentially they show up if it's a live event and you don't know who the hell they are, and they don't have any details of the event. So this is really a way in which you can ensure that at least you're notified. So once you are notified, well, what do you need to look for? So what I would recommend you do once you receive that task is have a look at the contact. And firstly, you want to have a look at, do they already have this registration tag on their record? If they do, it's probably likely that they're already registered, and you can look in the campaign history and see what events that they're actually currently in, and that might explain it. Now, there's also going to be in the history of that contact record the HTTP post and why it failed. And let me see if I can show an example. So if we look at this contact, and just going back to the comment before around the tagging, just having a look at their tags on the contact record to see. And if I look at this example here of office hours, and the integration is this tag here, the DynamicSync office hours registered tag, then I can see that actually there's no tags here for that contact. Okay, no worries. So what I can also investigate is in campaigns, I can also see when that post was trying to communicate to the to DynamicSync. So there's a registered contact with DynamicSync. And if there's any errors here, it's going to appear in this recent campaign history. So that's how you can access it on the interactive view. If you're in the contact view, if you head into the actual record itself, then if you scroll down to here, you can also see it there. Now you can open up that error message. Now, because I've just basically manually kind of manipulated this error to happen, this is a different error that you would probably normally receive. But what you can do is it kind of helps give you some context. But if that's confusing and you don't know what that means, what you can also do is head into DynamicSync. And let's have a look. If you have a look at this little question mark up the top right, and you can have a look at this HTTP post, and there's an option down the bottom here called HTTP post error codes. So you may see some of these errors appear on the contact record. So in here, the response code will be there. So that'll explain it. So you've maybe reached your limits. They can't, Infusionsoft DynamicSync, they couldn't actually, find the event or the event date or the contact. The date's already completed or yet to be confirmed, or they're already registered into the given event, and so on and so forth. One extra feature that you definitely want to have a look at as well is having a look at this, click here for the detailed list of recent errors. And what this allows you to do is have a look at all of those recent errors that have come through. Now, again, we use this account for a lot of testing and demos, so there's some odd things here, but this is another way you can actually find out, well, what's actually wrong with the setup. Now, in some cases, like we saw the other day, if a setup has been working fine for quite some time and then all of a sudden a few registration errors are coming through, then there's something obviously wrong with that setup. Maybe there's been a change on the landing page or the code, or something's happening in the back end. So come in here and have a look at and see some of those error messages appearing. But basically that's really what I wanted to show you. So firstly, just to sum up, is ensuring that all of your event campaigns have that extra step in there to check if registrations are not successful, that somebody in your team who's probably a little bit tech savvy, who can help to troubleshoot what's going on here, are assigned a task in here, and making sure that you have the tag goal after this sequence so they get pulled out if they achieve it. And then the process in which you investigate the contact and why it was not successful. So obviously checking on the contact record, do they have the tag that symbolizes that they have been registered? Have they got that error message that you can investigate further? And there's other things you can look at as well in terms of the all the details of the event. Now I don't know where it is on this one, but you get the idea, like the event date ID and those sorts of things as well. So making sure you've got that on there too. And also, of course, going into DynamicSync and having a look at the post errors and seeing if that explains it, and then finally having a look at this error log. So I hope you found this helpful. As I said, it's Mandy here from DynamicSync, and really this is a way to make sure that none of your registrations fall through the cracks. So make sure you go ahead and implement that in your event campaigns today. Thanks.